Coming at you from the frozen tundra that is East Central Alberta, Canada, streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Telegram, TikTok, Odyssey, and the Prepper Broadcast Network. Welcome back to the workshop where we create community, find freedom, promote preparedness, and share success. I am Toolman Tim, and today is December 22nd, 2022. This is episode 224 of the Workshop Podcast. How are you, folks? We are live on TikTok tonight. We're trying to stream in all the places. We're going to see how well everything works. If we run into any hiccups, well, we'll end the TikTok stream early, I guess. But it's good to have everyone. We are getting really, really close. Tomorrow is Christmas Eve. Going to have Chinese food, I think, tomorrow. So the kids are kind of excited about that. Let's get the announcements out of the way, and then we'll slide into tonight's topics. Well, we got a kind of a hodgepodge. We're going to do a weekly workshop segment, just kind of go through all the cool things that have been happening. And then we're going to do a Stranger Than Fiction. Thanks to Letty Lou for naming that segment, because I enjoy doing that. Throughout the month, if I see an interesting, strange, weird kind of news story, I throw it in my notepad, and I pick the best 2 or 3. And we're going to go over them. We'll pick some lessons out. We'll have some fun with it. And before I forget, don't forget, tomorrow night, we're going to have a special live stream. That'll be the last one before Christmas. We got all kinds of cool things. So let's dive in. All right. Number 1, Thursday nights. This is when we thank our sponsor. That's Fortress Canine, my buddy Joel from Fortress Canine or the Protection Dog podcast. That dude has a way of absolutely motivating you. You want to sit down and listen to a guy who's been there, done that, who's been beat up by the world, and who's come back wanting more and making the best of his life that he can. He's a dude I consider a brother. He's just an all-around awesome guy. So give him some love. You can go by fortresscanine.com if you want. But more importantly, subscribe to his podcast. Give him a share. Message him and say, hey, I heard about you from Tim, and here I am checking you out. He's on all the places, TikTok, Instagram. Those are the big ones where he's very, very active anyway. So give him some love. I got a boostergram the other day from somebody who said, I paused the episode at this point right now, and I went and listened to Joel. And that's what I want. I just want you guys to support him as well, because he took a chance on being the very first sponsor with the Workshop Podcast, and I want to bless him the best we can, guys. So there we are. Evening, we have Byron in the house, Martinson family, one step closer, and brother Nate Lemaster, who was on last Sunday evening. We had an awesome show. That dude put in a lot of work, and we had a lot of fun talking about the history of ham radio, but we went all over the place with it. Tim Galloway, good to have you this evening. We got a couple of people over on TikTok so far. Good to have you there as well. All right. Oh, and we're live on the Prepper Broadcast Network tonight. Number 2. Prepper Broadcast Network is doing a giveaway from Parcel Safety. James messaged me earlier tonight. I don't have all the details yet, but I wanted to get it out there for you. He has given away the ST100X full face survival respirator from Parcel Safety. There's going to be more details to follow, but over on PBN or on the Instagram account, there'll be ways to enter and win one. Apparently, they're quite the deal. So it's interesting. Looking forward to giving one of those away. Yeah, one step closer says, stay warm, everyone. Yeah, it's been chilly here for sure. Final announcement, TikTok. Follow me there if you are a TikToker, whatever you want to call it. If you hate TikTok, don't worry about it. I'm going to throw the link up in the chat description this evening, guys. But just had another video that went fairly viral over there. So 10,000 followers, subscribers, whatever you want to call it, are within reach. So that's kind of exciting. 10,000 is one of those big milestones. You can't get monetized in Canada for the Creators Fund yet, but 10,000 kind of puts you at a good little level there. And it's the place where I've really enjoyed sharing a lot of my tour reviews and shorter content and a little bit of stuff that you might not see over on the YouTube channel. So there's that. And finally, the today's tool is my heavy duty all-weather, winter-friendly booster cables. Had to use them the other night. My mother-in-law messaged me. She said, hey, Becky's godmother's vehicle won't start. Learned a whole lesson from that. It's a new Ford 2021, one of those little compact SUVs. There's just nowhere to hook up the booster. First, you can get on the positive if you hold your tongue right, hold your feet right, twist your toes right. But then there's a boosting post that is not labeled whatsoever. You have to look it up. I was about ready to give up and call my brother-in-law, and I said, nah, I'll go on YouTube University, and I finally found it. But it is absolutely miserable. We got Santa Man over on TikTok. Good to have you. If anybody's wondering what I'm drinking this evening, it's an old-fashioned, but it's made with bourbon cream. Let me show you. This one is pretty cool. It's made from Buffalo Trace, and yeah, it's 15%. Picked it up at Costco. You add your old-fashioned ingredients, and it tastes a little bit like eggnog. So we're going to start out, guys. We're going to chat. I've had so many projects on the go lately. It's been kind of fun, and I learned a lot. Made some dumbass mistakes along the way, but yeah, so let's slide into the weekly workshop. Well, it snowed for 6 days straight here, and it was, yeah, we got a big dumping. I was just glad we got out. One thing that my son and I, when we do the snow, we try to do preventative maintenance. So after every 4th or 5th kind of snowfall, you got to go and push the piles back. So what you do is, we go with a backpack blower, and it does a good job getting the sidewalks clean. But like I said, after 4 or 5 snowfalls, you got to go in with the snow blower and say push that kind of 2-foot line on the sides of the sidewalk. Well, anyway, I was glad we got it done because we have been dumped on. I would say in the last 7 days, got close to another foot of snow. It's kind of driving us all a little bit bonkers. We got a lot of snow. And for some reason, Christmas Eve is calling for freezing rain, even though it's not going to be above -17. So who the hell knows? I don't know. But yeah, so the nights were, I was getting a little tired getting up every single morning. I mean, it is what it is. You do it, but there it is. So we got the piles pushed back. We got everything pushed back, and then we got all this snow, and now it's time for some more maintenance. I went out this morning, and I gotta say, I like the cold. Hey, Mogmo and Jason Walker over on TikTok, but this morning was about -35, and it's the coldest it has been when I was blowing snow in a long time. Nate says he got an inch of snow today, 35-mile-an-hour winds, and it's -5. We need more snow. Yeah, I honestly, when it's cold like that, let it snow. Get it on the ground, insulate the ground. I enjoy it. I enjoy traveling on it. The town has been around today, finally scraping back the roads the best we can. I went to Lloydminster yesterday, and if you guys have never experienced this, is quite the, you'll like this. But so we got some snow. It was kind of warm. All the vehicles drove on it, left tons of ruts. Then it went from -10 to like -35 overnight, and everything froze rock solid, completely rock solid. And it was like you were going on an off-road testing ground all around in the cities. It was horrible, horrible. Byron says they haven't dropped in the negatives yet, but it's coming soon. And One Step Closer said no snow accumulation where I live in Dallas, but it's down to 12. I saw someone in the Telegram group today showed a little bit of snow in Dallas. So crazy. We went to hey, Lady Lou, good to have you. Haven't seen you in a little while. Your ears must have been burning. I was just thanking you earlier, or maybe I meant to. Can't remember if I actually did, but I mentioned how you give me the title for Stranger Than Fiction. That's what we're going to talk about tonight, some of the interesting news stories. Tonight is giving -38 without the wind chill, -53 with the wind chill. That'll be one of the coldest nights I have seen in a couple of years for sure. Today was a fun day. I don't know if I did. I think I did mention it, but we're just in the process of finally finishing up purchasing for a really cheap price a couple of rentals here in town. Now, that means they need a lot of work. So 3 total units, 2 houses, one with 2 units, one with 1. So we get 3 altogether. My son lives in the downstairs one, and we're getting the upstairs kind of turned into a rental studio. And so I had to back up a little bit, Tim. The cold water has been cut off to the 3rd floor there for a long time. I never knew why. I just assumed they never on. I just assumed that there was, I don't know, they just never finished it or something. Don't assume, though, of course, you guys know this. But here I was, I'm like, okay, I just got to hook it up. It was just one fitting. I thought maybe they disconnected it because it was on the outside of the wall and maybe it would freeze. I don't know. I thought, well, we'll test it. It's one of two things. Either they disconnected it to keep it from freezing or they disconnected it because it leaked. Well, guess what? It was because it leaked. Plugged it in today, turned it on, and all I could hear was water gushing down inside the wall. I said, well, turn that off. Time to run a brand new water line from the basement to the 3rd floor. And, well, I did. It was fun. And in the meantime, I found a secret hidden room in this house that I did not know existed. We got Sabby over on TikTok. Good to have you. Letty Lou. So, yeah, we're going to chat. The Area 51 thing's kind of interesting. It's, yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it. It's an article I read. We'll share it in a few minutes. So I shine my flashlight up through the floorboards. I look and I'm like, something's not right. There's a wall, but it's like 3 feet out from where I expect it to be. I start shining my light up in there. I can see a washer hookup, hot and cold, and an outlet inside this wall. So I go up in the bathroom, I haul the panel board off, and there's like a 3-foot by 5-foot laundry room that's been completely boarded off and left in there. They left the hookups for the washer. They left an outlet and an old push button switch. So it turns out after I placed that entire line, that what was happening was, I'm guessing that old shutoff in there just failed randomly and the water started coming out of there. Anyway, so I tore that board off. Now we've got this great big closet we're going to build for the downstairs bathroom, gained all this space, but they just left everything in there. I managed to hook all of the plumbing up, get it up into the kitchen, turned everything on, still had no cold water in the bathroom. Couldn't figure it out. And I could see it was plumbed properly. Nothing was coming out of the bathroom sink. I take the diffuser off, or the aerator off the sink, and inside it looks like it's full of sand and rust. It's the craziest I've ever seen. Must have just flaked off the old galvanized pipe before it was replaced. So always remember to check, because sometimes there's things that you don't expect and you think, oh, I didn't hook it up right. Well, it wasn't that. It was basically because there was one other thing wrong. So yeah, One Step Closer says it's mystifying what some people do to houses. This, I don't even know. I mean, it's been a rental for 15, 20 years. Everything's been scabbed together. It's one of the older houses in town. And you'll just find a pipe that terminates in a spot that makes no sense. There's 12 different types of plumbing in the, oh, it's just, yeah. But it's fun. It's fun trying to figure things out. Hey, Mr. Dixon, I hope you're staying warm down there. Thanks for coming in, Mattos, over on TikTok. Good to have you. Good to have you, Cedar. Last night, this was a fun night, guys. You just never know what's going to go on. Letty Lou says that paint job. Yeah, so let's get down a little rabbit hole. There was a lady who lived in there years ago. She's long gone now, long moved away. And she was a little bit off her rocker. And she just stopped paying her rent one day. And I went in. I kept telling her, like, Debbie, you got to pay your rent, you know, and she just kind of ignored me. And then part of the deal was that she was supposed to take care of the grass. Well, she never did that. And the backyard got to be about 18 inches high. And we got a letter from the town saying, you need to mow this. We didn't own the place. I just did the property management for it. So I told Debbie, I said, I'm going in, I'm going to mow your backyard. Yep, no problem. And I mean, you couldn't tell a weed from a tree from a dog in the backyard. And I mowed everything. And I get a phone call from her screaming to the top of her lungs saying, you killed my flowers, da, 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 da. And apparently there were some flowers underneath of some grass somewhere. She blamed me, said it on purpose, and she freaked out. Anyway, just before she moved out, she did this awesome paint job that Letty likes so much. It's a navy blue with white rag painting, you know, so they just took like a chamois and just kind of went, made an absolute to the whole house. So there you go. Chris Dixon wants to know if I got my project done. He got his done. And yes, I did. I've got everything hooked up except there's no cold water to the bathtub on the 3rd floor yet, but nobody uses the tub. There's a shower up there with hot and cold water to it. I'm going to work on it. I don't know. It's an old house, but yes, the project's done for today. Got the bed frame put together too. Letty Lou says it's called rag rolling. Why that ever became a thing, I'll never know. And yeah, crazy. Last night, I lay down in bed. It was quite a crazy night. Getting ready to go to bed because I know I got to get up and blow snow in the morning. I get a call from a buddy of mine here in town. He says, "Can you come out front? I'm stuck." I said, "Stuck? What do you mean stuck?" He says, bring a tow strap and come around with your truck. I'm stuck out front of your house. So anyway, the town, they plow all the snow into one ridge down the middle of the road, and then they come by the next day with this great big snow blower. Anyway, he was going along, and there was a truck that was parked on the shoulder of the road, and he couldn't get by, so he decided to drive over the berm of snow and got hung up high and dry. So, about 9 o'clock last night, I was out there towing him out. Just doze off, just fall asleep, and I get woke up by my phone, and there's an alarm going off over at the 12 unit. So it was one of those nights. I go over, and it was a dusty smoke alarm, apparently. There's sensors in the smoke alarms, and if dust gets on them, it was doing quite a nasty little beeping thing. So we got that solved. There we are. Yeah, one step closer says it's like the avocado green. Oh, or the harvest gold. Wasn't harvest gold good too? Patriot Protection U.S. Good to have you over on TikTok. Nate says, had she mowed the yard, the flower would still be there. Yeah, but she'd probably still be living there too. No, but anyway, yeah, just an insane lady. Oh, Letty Lou, I have a harvest gold tub and shower combo from the 70s in this house. And good to have you, Rachel Brand. Always love having you. Where else did we go? Yeah, so we got that alarm fixed. We had a guy move out of the 12 unit and decided it would be a good thing to take all the furniture he didn't want and just leave it on the front yard of the 12 unit next to the dumpster. I guess he figured, well, guess what? It's your problem now, Tim. I have my suspicions he's not coming back. He says he was coming back for an inspection. He's not coming back. So I had to haul that out after it got buried in snow overnight. So that was fun. Chris Dixon said he rescued a lady in a snow pile today as well. And I told her I needed to drive her car and she didn't want me to. I asked her if that was the hill she wanted to die on today. Yeah, well, my daughter called me the other day. It has just been a winter here, guys. I have, I don't know, 5 or 6 people I've towed out of the snow so far. She called me. She said, Dad, I'm stuck. And I said, where? She said, at the vet. I said, well, go inside and ask one of the vets. There's a bunch of male vets in there. I said, help them push you out. She said, no, I'm in the road, just down the road from the vet. So I go over, and she has a Grand Caravan, and she got off on the shoulder a little bit, and she got stuck in kind of the ruts. And she said she was trying to back up, but she couldn't get going, and she didn't back up far enough. She panicked. So I went over, backed it up for her, and got her up and out of there. But, oh, it's been a winter. My God, has it been a winter already? But 2 good things. Like I said, my snow contracts are officially 1/3 over, and we are now, today was longer than yesterday was. So we are past the shortest day of the year. That makes me excited. Hey, there's Grace Cook. There's my daughter now, and she did a good job, and hopefully she learned a lesson from it, because snow sucks and winter sucks, and there we are. But we went up and cleaned out a bank property the other day, both my daughter and my son and my twin daughter. So there was 4 of us plus me, all went up and got this place cleaned up super quick. They were all a huge help, and always makes me smile when they do. Nate wants to know, do I use a kinetic rope for recovery? I do not, simply because I bought my tow strap before I really knew about kinetic ropes. I'm going to test one. I just picked up. I don't even keep clevises in my truck. I just loop it over and it works good. But I just ordered some nice heavy duty clevises, so I have them, because some people don't have hooks. They have loops, and then what do you do, right? But I'm going to try. If you guys haven't seen those kinetic ropes, if my brother-in-law Barrett Bishop comes on later on tonight, he'll talk about them. But they are just awesome. They have a lot of extra stretch in the rope, and they kind of compound using physics, the extra strength to get it out. And Chris says I put a J hook, like what's on tow trucks, on the tow strap for pulling people out. Works. A treat for easy hookups. That's a good idea, man. I have to get you to send me a picture of that. I'd like to see it. That'd be really good. And all I can say is this bourbon cream and this old fashioned's tasting pretty darn good tonight. Next, I don't know if you guys, it was kind of a surprise. I decided to try it completely different. If you guys used to follow me on Float, and we've talked about it, I'm not going to bash them anymore, but I used to do a radio station over there that was on 24/7. It was fun. I just played back episodes of the Workshop podcast. And anyway, Float just kind of sunk. So I decided to test it on YouTube the other day, and it worked really, really well. So I think maybe once a month or something, or maybe once a week, I don't know, I'm going to play like a 12-hour or 24-hour straight radio station on the YouTube channel. We're going to see, as long as it doesn't frig with the analytics or anything like that, or it doesn't piss people off. I'm going to be very upfront so people know it's just replayed audio with just a static image. So, if it's a weekend or an evening and you just want background noise to listen to, it'll be there looping around. So yeah, it'll be kind of cool. I enjoy it. I have this soft spot for AM talk radio, and we'll call it the Workshop radio. It'll be something like, how everybody's dad always had an AM radio playing all the time in the background in their shop or wherever. I remember my buddy Danny, his dad Dick, God rest his soul, he had this radio he's so proud of. He picked up at a yard sale, and the batteries that were in it lasted for like 20 years maybe afterwards. And yeah, so it'll be interesting. I don't know. I like it. I like giving everybody options to listen to. Seemed like people liked it, so we're going to try that. And Nate says, I saw that. If he hadn't have been buried in the Joe Rogan episode, I would have listened. When it was done, it looked like a Joe Rogan episode because it was like 4 hours. Okay. Also, I want to mention something. Basically, what I'd like to do, I haven't completely formulated this yet, but I'm going to mention it out loud so you guys can kind of get an idea. But what I'd really, really like, or what I want to do, is any of my fellow content creators out there, anybody who's affiliated with the Workshop, anybody's been on the show, anything like that, I'd like you guys, whoever's up for it, to pick your favorite episode of the year from your content. Not something I made, but like Nate and Aaron, Letty, anybody pick the best piece of content that you made this year. And what I'd like to do is maybe on New Year's Day or New Year's Eve or something, I'd like to put together a loop of everybody's, kind of like a radio station, and I want to play everybody's shows in a big loop for the day. And I'll put everybody's links up, and it'll be fun. It'll just be background shows for everybody to listen to, and it'll be the Workshop radio station. So anybody who's interested, just drop me a line somewhere and we'll make it work. And finally, this one was fun. I hope you guys really enjoy. Hey, we got the dude abides. He's over on TikTok. Good to have you. So I really hope you guys enjoy the Christmas Eve recording I did for you. I'm excited. It's from a TV show from the 90s. It has to do with a lot of the themes that we do. It's a person, a character, whatever you want to call it, that a lot of us think really highly of. And it's a dramatic reading on my part. So, take it easy on me. I'm really excited. It's different. It's the first time I've tried multiple characters, and it's about 20 minutes long. It's going to premiere either the night of the 23rd or first thing on the 24th. So you'll have it to listen to. It's not real long, but I wanted to come up with something that was specifically flavored in the Workshop. Nicole puts out her Christmas, what is it? The night before Christmas. She put out the Scottish one earlier. And I was like, I got to come up with something. I think you're going to really, really like it for sure. So, and here's the deal, Letty, Nate, anybody, you don't necessarily have to send me the audio. If you just tell me what episode, I think I can figure out how to download it or pull it down somewhere. But yeah, I really want to. I'd love to have 15 or 20 people involved in this for sure. So spread the word. But yeah, so that is what's been going on lately. I know it's been a busy time, and I wouldn't do these weekly workshops if I didn't think you guys enjoyed them. But everybody always reads, gives me the feedback and says, I love hearing about what you're doing and the lessons you learn and the dumbass mistakes you make. So thank you very much. One Step Closer said, did the Scottish version have a lot of cursing? I've listened to it a few times. It's my brother Jaggy from over in Scotland that reads it, and no, there's no cussing in it. He comes in here sometimes, but he's like 4 or 5 hours ahead or behind us or something. So, and Letty's gonna read The Grinch. I'd love for you to read The Grinch, Letty. It'd be great. And Gremlins is a Christmas film. Sure, why not? Okay, so tonight I picked. We'll see if we get through all three, but I picked 3 articles. So it's been over a month since we did our last Stranger Than Fiction, and I picked 3 articles to work our way through. One's kind of, I don't know. You guys tell me what you think. But here is the title of the first one. This came from the Associated Press News, and it was kind of fun. Area 51 website owner who says armed feds raided his home speaks out. He says it could be your door next. So this dude is an interesting character. His name is George. Where is it? Right here. I had him too. I can't find his last name. Anyway, it's kind of a weird spelling of George. We're going to call him George. He owns a website, and it is called dreamlandresort.com. It has been the go-to Area 51 conspiracy website since 1999. And I want to tell you guys, if you check out his website, you will know it has been on the internet since 1999. It has a counter, like a visitor counter in the bottom left-hand corner. I haven't seen one of them since my GeoCities days. You go there and it kind of hurts your eyes to look at the website because it looks like something built, with HTML in a notepad back in 1997. I don't think it's George Knapp, Nate. I'll find it here. It's in the article as we go, but let me fill you in on what's going on. I did a Cliff's Notes version of it, but it's kind of an interesting article. The dude is what the dude is. He lives in the desert in Nevada, near where the reason I brought this one was because our buddy Art Bell and Letty Lou says, "Ooh, GeoCities." So a Nevada man who operates a website focusing on the remote, formerly top secret Area 51, long and objective UFO and space alien lore, said Thursday that the military and FBI raided his home in what he calls a bid to muzzle him. Now, when I first read that article, when I first seen it, I thought, no, this is bullshit. There seems like there's something weird going on. He says, I believe the search was executed with unnecessary force by overly zealous government agencies and was meant to silence an Area 51 research community. So this guy, for years, we're talking almost 2.5 decades now, has gone and taken pictures and video of Area 51. And it sounds to me like he has stumbled across something that he had in video that the government didn't like. And so they came one day, because the government is going to government, and there's pictures. They busted his door down and they procured all of his technology in his house. There was a few other articles I read about it, but they basically said, if and when you ever get your computers back, they're going to be so out of date, there'd be no good to anything to you. So the searches, so he has owned, his last name is Arnu, so it's George Arnu. Since 1999, he's owned and operated his internet site, which is subtitled Secrets of Area 51 Revealed. Now that cracks me up a little bit because, it is what it is. Not like he's ever been in there, but he's put drones up and taken footage and he's put it on his website and he's got himself in some serious trouble. Nate says Bob Lazar has been raided numerous times by the FBI. They just won't leave him alone. It seems like once you put your finger on something or you scratch an itch or a nerve that the government doesn't want you to touch, all of a sudden everybody start knocking on your door. So the searches were reported by the Las Vegas Review-Journal, describing the site as a collection of YouTube videos taken from drones flown around Area 51, site images, a discussion forum, articles about UFOs, and mysterious black projects. He was conferring with his lawyer but declined to provide his lawyer's name. He said he believes the material on his website was legal and legal to publish, but he said he removed it so that he wouldn't piss off the government anymore. He said, considering how this went down, I have no intention of removing any more material unless I'm ordered to do so by a federal judge. He said agents confiscated laptops, phones, backup drives, camera gear, and a drone, and caused thousands of dollars of damage to his homes. Kind of interesting. Anyway, uh, his home is in a cluster of residents in a roadside town built around a 10-room alien-themed motel called the Little Alien. Oh, dear God. I didn't read that part before we started, but it's 2-hour drive north of Vegas. So basically what happened, this dude kind of reminds me, it seems like a story straight out of the X-Files. But this dude has been reporting on government comings and goings near Area 51 since, well, on his website since 99. Who knows how much longer than that. Kind of interesting, kind of weird. Anyway, the guy is what he is, but they came a knocking. It seems like this is the very first time that he's ever been raided, but they knocked his door down and, yeah, took his shit. And that's what happens when you piss the government off. They're going to show up and they're going to do something like that. So I learned something putting this together. I shared this story because I thought you guys would get a kick out of it. And, well, it kind of ties into a lot of things we talk about around here. But his website is called dreamlandresort.com. And I kept coming up to this term, Dreamland. And if you guys know about this term, great, but I didn't. But Dreamland is another name for Area 51. And before it was called Area 51, it was commonly called Groom Lake, which is, I guess, kind of the closest community to it. Art Bell had a Sunday night spin-off show that he did for a while called Dreamland as well. So that's where the term Dreamland comes from. That's where Buddy picked his URL for his website as well. But for a website that looks like it was made in 1999, it's worth going and checking out, guys. Tim Galwick says, something you might want to check out. Devices are made by a company called MySpool. When you lose power, it will send you a text message and an email. I have the mailbox and water sensor. That's really cool. We will for sure. And yeah, Nate says Dreamland is what the old school guys used to call it. I didn't know that. See, that's kind of cool. I love all this. The rabbit hole stuff I've gone down lately is a lot of fun. But yeah, so this guy knocked on the wrong door and they came a knocking. So if I hear any updates on it, I'll let you know. But it sounds like he lost his shit, literal, material possessions, and he's not going to get them back. But it sounds like they're not going to press any further charges with him. So, and all right. So from there, this one's kind of cool. This is a neat article dealing with inflation, and it talks about the advantages that small restaurants have, or the few advantages that small mom and pop shops have over your big chains. And most people just love to sit back and say, no, McDonald's, Starbucks, they can look out for themselves, but the little guys are just going to die. Well, no, it's not necessarily going to be that way. And this was kind of cool. This one came from CNBC. I know, CNBC, right? But it says inflation forces mom and pop restaurants and big chains to lean on their unique strengths. So there's a couple lessons in here as we go along that I kind of wanted to grab. And for me, what it is no matter how bad things seem, or no matter how twisted, inflation gets, or how hard it is for business, you got to lean on your strengths, and you need to be original, and you need to think outside the box to survive. And that's what they're talking about here. So it's kind of cool. So they said, as the restaurant industry battles inflation, the large size of chains and their access to cash gives them the upper hand. But independents have some advantages when managing higher costs. And when I seen the article, I thought, oh, this is clickbait, but it's kind of cool. So let's slide through a little bit and I'll share it with you. But they said, and this goes without saying, but with the pressure on their budgets, consumers have been cutting back their recent restaurant visits, which, yeah, makes for sure sense. There's been a drop-off for both chains and independents. Independent stores have both seen drops in their sales. Prices for food consumed away from home, get this, guys. So the price of going out for a meal has gone up 10% in the last 12 months. How crazy is that? I mean, why do you think people don't want to eat out anymore? You go to, went to Subway the other day, went to pay, and whatever, there's a tip thing there. Everywhere you go, there's a tip thing. You take tip, you go to takeout, and there's a tip thing. Before you know it, they're going to have goddamn tips at the Walmart self-checkouts because you got to click like 17 things just to get through it. Do you want to donate to, I don't know, Kids for Cancer? No. Do you want any bags? No. Do you want to apply for a Walmart credit? No. You know what? I went to self-checkout because I don't want to talk to anybody now. Let me go. So, and yes, I know things have seemingly doubled, but overall it seems the average has been about 10% is what this article is saying anyway. One Step Closer says, always try to go to mom and pop when we go out. The ones around here care more. Yeah, and the quality of food, way better. So a founder of a restaurant association compared restaurant chains to oil tankers. This is kind of cool. And independents to speedboats. Chains have bigger budgets, broader scale, and other tools like advanced technology, but they're slow to act and mired in bureaucracy. And mom and pop restaurants, on the other hand, don't have the same access to cash or the benefits of size. But the cool thing is they can move more quickly. They can adapt to change. So here's the thing. They were saying McDonald's and Starbucks, massive size helps them lock in prices early. So what I was reading was, McDonald's and Starbucks and a few other ones have basically ordered most of their bulk product for for a full year ahead, right? And they were able to save something like 2%. But they had to commit to, McDonald's, for instance, had to commit to an entire year's purchases of chicken ahead of time. No independent place is going to do that. We know that for sure. And Chris Dixon, you're right. He says you can always choose no. It's true. I know. I'm just being a bastard tonight because I'm an old grumpy man who had to spend too much time in the cold today. And the other thing about the big chains is they can twist arms, like Walmart. They can go back to their supplier and say, hey, we're not going to buy your shit if you don't give us a better price, right? That's where the big chains have the advantage. But, and of course, they have the bargaining strength and they have leverage with suppliers and all of that. And the thing about the small guys is they can't go back to their supplier usually. I mean, if you have a good working relationship with them, sometimes you can. But for the most part, you can't go back and say, hey, we're going to leave if you don't give us better price. They'll be like, okay. So yeah. And then the other thing I found out, and I never thought about this, but with the bigger chains, a lot of suppliers are sending all their stuff to the big chains because they know that's their biggest customer, their most money, and they're prioritizing to that window. But here's the thing. Most of the big places are buying 2 and 3 times their stock and ingredients than they used to. And they're carrying higher inventory, and that puts more pressure on waste and spoilage and profits. So it could end up really coming back to bite them in the ass. But here's the thing. What this article says is the independent restaurants are nimbler and more flexible. That sounds right. Foolish. But anyway, independent restaurants have the advantage of speed. And this is where I kind of wanted to talk about this article a little bit. And yeah, so One Step Closer says it ties up capital as well. It absolutely does. And, if interest rates are going up and you got a whole bunch of capital tied up into some things and you owe some money, man, shit could go sideways real fast. But here's the thing. If a mom and pop restaurant or store or whatever notices that things, prices on a certain key ingredient in an entree, for instance, well, they can put the prices up really quick. They can make the portion sizes a little bit smaller. They can remove the item from the menu. Things that the big chains can't do. Because if you go to McDonald's and they say, well, we don't have a Big Mac today, that's on social media everywhere. People are going to be pissed. The thing about the big stores is people bitch about the prices there because they know what the prices are. You can't make a Big Mac without lettuce, but the local mom and pop place can't get lettuce, so they're going to do a bacon and cheeseburger instead of a BLT. No big deal. Nobody's going to care. People are going to go there because of the quality and the story behind the food. So they said, this lady they interviewed, they said if she raises the price on one item, one thing she likes to do is add something else to the menu that's cheaper. So like she said, they have Wagyu beef, for instance, really expensive, but they also have some, chicken Caesar salads and things like that that are quite a bit cheaper. And if she has to put the price up on something, she tries to add a value item to the menu as well so that she's not completely turning off all of her customers. Hey, Kentucky Sustainable, great to have you. Always love having you here. And I said independents have greater flexibility when it comes to changing prices. reading through this article, it said that people go to chain restaurants because they know what the prices are going to be. And if a place tries to put the prices up too much, one of those places, then people get really pissed off at chain restaurants. And that's where, we've heard a lot of people talk about this over the years, but you can't compete with the scale of places like Walmart, places like McDonald's, places like whatever it happens to be. You can't make a product that is going to compete with any of those big places because they're going to scale you to death until you can't afford to stay in business with them. So you need to sell something that has a story behind it. You need to sell something that has quality behind it. You need to sell something that the other places can't sell, whether that's service, whether it's friendly, whether it's your brand story that's built around it. You want to have a dedicated following that is willing to come to your restaurant because they want to support you as a business, not because you have the golden arches out in front of you. And that's where they were talking about with a lot of the chains versus the independent restaurants. And it said consumers care more about prices when they're visiting a chain restaurant, according to findings from a survey, blah, blah, blah. But they said more than a third of respondents said everyday prices matter when picking a chain restaurant, while 1/5 of people said it factored in when they went to an independent eatery, which means people are more willing to pay a slightly higher price or are more willing to forgive higher prices at an independent mom and pop shop because people understand. You go there, you see, mom and dad, Joe Blow working behind the counter, like Bob's Burgers, for instance. You go in there, you're like, oh, they've probably worked 12 hours today and they're trying to support their family, whatever it happens to be. People are like, yeah, I understand shit costs, but they don't have that same forgiveness for those great big corporations. So that's kind of what I was thinking was, you're not going to, for instance, I was thinking the other day, you look at the big garbage hauling companies, right? So you've got Waste Management, for instance. You're never going to compete with Waste Management for their business because they exist everywhere. They're like the mafia. Maybe they are the mafia. I don't know. But if you try to outbid them or underbid them, you're just going to end up burning yourself down around it. But what you can do is you can go around and get independent contracts with people to haul garbage directly. Small stuff. Maybe they can't afford a dumpster. Maybe they don't have room for a dumpster. So you're going to offer a mobile garbage pickup system, or maybe you're going to offer a garbage bin washing service. All these things that those big places aren't doing or can't do, you can make a ton of money from, and people aren't going to bitch at you for it. Chris says they have the golden arches. We have the golden arcs. They have the Big Mac. We have the Big Mac. And One Step Closer says there's a small downtown near us, and the local restaurants tend to work together to create a great atmosphere to bring in customers to the area. Exactly. That's what you do, right? And Nate says it pisses me off the amount McDonald's has raised their prices, but I'm good with a pizza place and the barbecue joint raising because it's better service. Yes, that's it. I wish I could leave. Well, I'm not going to leave that up, but I wish there's a way to pin that for the rest of the night from in here. I don't think I can, but that's exactly it, Nate. Because you go into McDonald's, and because here's the thing. You go to McDonald's, you don't go to McDonald's because of the quality of their food. Their food tastes like shit. It looks like shit. It smells like shit, and it makes you feel like shit. And you got to pay, like Nate said, twice as much as you had to fucking pay last year for the same shit that still tastes and smells like shit. But you go to a local restaurant, you sit down in there, maybe you have a glass of wine, maybe you have a beer, whatever, it doesn't matter. But you went there to have that handmade pizza that you love and enjoy. And you know that they're doing what they can. And in order for them to stay in business, they have to charge for it. People understand that. But you know what? I'll bet you're going to get the quality of pizza. I just think of all those little mom and pop pizza joints I've gone to over the years. And you go in, you sit down, and it's an experience because, it might be a hole in the wall, greasy spooks, but they're going to be some good pizza coming out of there. So at least if you're going to pay for it, you might as well get quality because that's something you don't get at almost all these chain restaurants at all. Letty says the independent shops also do a better job at establishing and lasting relationships. You can walk in, get your regular table, and you have your usual starting in the kitchen right away. Exactly. You can go, we have a regular place here called Mike's Restaurant. We go to there every so often. And you can tell if the regular person isn't cooking because the food can be like, oh shit, it's not the regular cook. That's the type of thing that my pizza joint that I used to go to in my hometown. I haven't lived there for 10 years. I go in and the lady behind the counter still remembers me, probably because I ate more pizza than most everybody else out there. And Nate says they can't even get your order right at McDonald's. That's why they put a third drive-through window in, right? First one's take your money. Second one's to give you the food, and the third one's where you return the stuff they made wrong for you. But yeah, you're right. Letty Lou, here's a perfect one. McDonald's screws up orders. Ice cream machines are down. They seem to always only have 2 or 3 people working, and they are so slow. I seen an article the other day. One of the few chains that seem to be knocking it out of the park right now is Chick-fil-A. They said that they make, how did it go? More sales and more revenue per store than McDonald's, Starbucks, and Subway combined. They also said they do it on 6 days. They do it on something like 12 or 18 item menus, whereas McDonald's has like 100 or something. So they're basically taking the opposite approach to what McDonald's is doing, and it's kind of neat. I really appreciate that. Yeah, see, everybody has their go-to. We had Josie's Restaurant in my hometown where I grew up, where we would go for breakfast all the time. And it was a greasy spoon diner, but you never minded it. One Step Closer says, I have a go-to local place to get corned beef hash and eggs or a fried bologna sandwich. Oh. Dad always used to make me eat fried bologna when I was a kid, and I never enjoyed it. Kentucky says, I try to do mom and pop places for stuff I get. I got an American-made bag to use for my radio from a guy in Arkansas. It's an 8-man shop. Exactly. I got my knife from Patrick Rohrman at MT Knives. He's a one-man operation. My wallet came from SOE, from John and Amanda Willis. What do they have? 10 people working there, something like that. The thing is, you buy it because you support people. You buy it because it's made with love. You buy it because they're making a living off it. And Letty says, I hear you on the pizza place, 25 years at the same place. They know us in our usual orders. Exactly. And One Step says, I got a nice bag from a cranky guy in Camden, Tennessee. Yes, that's where my wallet came from, and that's where my tactical over-the-shoulder carry bag comes from, or as my wife likes to call it, my man purse. So yeah, that I thought it was kind of neat. The chains have brand recognition and pricing power, but the independents also earn goodwill from their consumers. Just simply by being a small business. It's funny how that is, but we all understand it, don't we? Excuse me. And then this last thing, somebody said there's a perception of authenticity, like a family Italian restaurant versus a big chain like Olive Garden, right? You go into a place like Olive Garden, you're like, oh, the food might be good, but it's all a charade, right? Whereas these small independent restaurants are that way. Excuse me. Ooh, don't know what happened there. Sorry, guys. Letty Lou says it's a satchel. Indiana Jones has one. Exactly. Nate calls it a merce. Sure. Yeah, either way. And One Step Closer says it's also nice knowing that your money is staying in the community, for sure. And mom and pop don't need global branding. They need regional branding and can kill it. Perfect example of this. I go into the bank the other day. We get talking about proper winter clothing and that sort of thing. And I'm like, oh, yeah, by the way, my buddy Chris Dixon mentioned to me the other day that there are socks that are made in the province of Alberta, those Mariano wool socks. And I said, I can't remember the name of it right now, but I'll find out for you. So there it is. There is brand recognition for something local, fairly local, that a friend and a community member knew about, mentioned it to me, word of mouth, and then I mentioned it to the 2 ladies working at the bank yesterday. So there it is. Absolutely. And the last article, yeah, we'll get through this one tonight too, guys. This one's kind of cool. It comes from The Guardian. Oh boy. Tim, you picked some left-wing news sources this week, didn't you? Yeah, I did. Sorry. Talking to myself here. So the title of this article is When You Hear the 4-Minute Warning, Whatever Happened to Britain's Nuclear Bunkers? I thought that was it's an interesting article. And Nate says, we sold some stuff the kids made, took the money and got them tickets to go see a movie. Exactly. Hey, Porterhouse, we have to support like-minded people and businesses, or there will be no like-minded people with businesses. Amen. And Nate says, you're from Canada, they only go left. Except when it comes to the cold weather, it seems to want to go south right now. But yeah, oh boy. So this article was kind of cool. It was long. I cut it way down for you guys. Thank you, Chris. Drystex in Calgary. Also check Motley Woolens out of Okotoks. Just got some from them and they're awesome. See? Love it. That is awesome. So the UK was once dotted with structures designed to survive nuclear conflict. So and this kind of thing works for, the US. Not really in Canada, but here we are. They said they had tiny underground observation posts that held 3 people, and they had sprawling underground government complexes. But this, the author of this article says, how many of them are still in use, and what are your chances of finding one if you need them? So if you can't tell by the start of this article, the conclusions I'm going to make at the end of it is that we all are in charge of our own preparedness. I know, whoa, mind equal blown, but it's kind of fun to see a mainstream media source talking about this thing, and then some really funny excerpts from the government that basically says we're here from the government and we're here to help. It's just kind of fun. So let's slide through. Once upon a time, not all that long ago, nuclear bunkers were all over the place in Britain, and they had these small little almost underground capsules that were 5 meters long. That's 15 feet in freedom units. And 3 people would sit in there as underground observation posts that could broadcast in the case of a nuclear emergency. Now, this author asks, how many of them have been maintained, how many have fallen in disrepair, and how many of them could be used today? I bet you know the answer to this already, don't you guys? Oh boy. In Cheshire and St. Andrews, 2 former secret nuclear bunkers have become visitor attractions. They're basically... that's all they are. They were a bunker, and now they're somewhere where tourists can go and check them out. The Kingsway Telephone Exchange used to be a Second World War air raid shelter and a communications facility built under the tube in London. They tried to sell it. It is just sitting there in disrepair. It's not even being used for storage anymore. At one time, there was 1,500 underground monitoring posts in Britain, basically underground phone booths with 3 people in them. They were sold off, shuttered, filled in, whatever. They have all basically fallen into disrepair. Some have been bought by members of the public. Here's the thing. In this article, I cut it out, but there was a guy who sells these things. And it was kind of interesting, but he said they're really difficult to renovate into appealing spaces. This is the guy's quote. He says, you wouldn't really want to sleep in a cold, dank, windowless underground shed. Well, actually, that's kind of the point of a bomb shelter. But anyway, what am I to say? And yes, you could renovate something like that. So here's the thing. They talk to the government. The government's like, yeah, no facilities in the UK are right for reactivating. That's basically the government's speak for these underground silos. Yeah, they're no good anymore. At one time, let's see here. So in the UK presently, there's less than 50 total shelters that could be used or activated. And at one time there was thousands. So One Step Closer says, sounds like the only affordable place to rent in London. Yes. Nate says he'd love to have an old missile silo. Yeah, it would be cool. There's a few guys who've done that in the States. So here's the government line. They said the nuclear bunkers that were constructed in the Cold War era have fallen pretty much into ruin. And when they say fallen pretty much into, they mean all of them are completely destroyed or lost or not used anymore. Even the most recently built ones are pretty much beyond use because they've had their entire life support equipment stripped out and they haven't been maintained for years. This is the problem with the government overseeing stuff like this, right? Ground up preparedness. I've talked about that once or twice, haven't I? Most people would be surprised to learn how few shelters were actually built in the UK in the Cold War era. While most countries, this was kind of cool. Some of you guys might know this, but post 1945, some of the major countries in the world invested in a ton of bunkers. Albania, between the 60s and the 80s, had a program called bunkerization, where they constructed over 750,000 underground military bunkers. That sounds kind of strange, maybe. Anyway, in 1976, Switzerland completed the largest civilian fallout shelter in the world that could house 20,000 people. Since 1963, Switzerland has been constitutionally obligated to provide shelter space for every citizen. And as of today, they have 350,000 shelters with room for 9 million people. Rachel says, when we were kids, it was daily life. Now it's doomsday preppers. I've been accused of that last week for putting winter preps in my car. Yep, I know. Everybody says being prepared is crazy, right? So here it is. And in the U.S., we've talked about this before, but the Federal Civil Defense instructed people to construct fallout shelters. And at one time in the U.S., there were 200,000 private bomb shelters in the country in 1965. But they said the U.K. never really had a big, sincere commitment to spending a lot of money or building these underground shelters. They said at one time they had about 1,500 in 1956, but they were only designed to hold, Royal Observer Corps volunteers, not regular civilians. So it was basically an underground military place. They said, of course, the country's VIPs will always have a place to stay. While it's unclear who exactly will go there to survive Armageddon, the civil defense historian says key members of central government, this is always where it goes, key members of central government, the military, royal family will always have access to bunkers. Along with the staff, in other words, the hired help, the royal family needs in order to run the country post-attack, they said. They said they have maintained a number, which basically means a few bunkers across the country and not that many. They said the thing is about space, if it's not being used for something, the government kind of ignores it. And that's what happened with so many of these bunkers. They built them, they left them out, and they just never did anything with them. Now, listen to this article here, or this quote from it. It says, in March, senior advisor, cabinet officer said to the newspaper, the UK is totally unprepared. Get this. The government is completely unprepared to advise the public about nuclear attacks. Imagine that. The government website currently says there's a new emergency alert system expected to launch in fall of 2022. Hasn't happened yet. They said if the threats become more tangible, in other words, if there's, public outcry that we need to deal with it, then there needs to be greater education of the public. Oh boy. Threats and education. That's always the way it is, right? And then he said, although he does not believe the government should build more bunkers. Well, there's one thing that I think we're both in agreement on. He said, having infrastructure is important, but it should only form a small part of the whole. So then, okay, I get it. For me, it's ground up. We all should be in charge of our own preparedness. So if we're prepping for something that requires an underground shelter, then we should never rely on the government to provide said underground shelter for us. Obviously, right? We're both in agreement here. But he says this is what this government official says is very important. He says, having trained personnel in coherent, workable plans across the country is more important. He adds that the pandemic, has prompted some form of preparation. Local authorities took on roles such as food distribution, body storage, and liaison with health and uniform services that would be similar to the event of a nuclear war. Then they said, your best bet after a nuclear explosion is to stay inside and get into a basement. So in other words, if there's ever a need for a nuclear, place to go underground and stay, the government, the royal family, all that'll be taken care of. Other than that, the public needs to be educated. If the threat gets worse, we'll deal with it. Right, because the time to build a bomb shelter is after the bomb's in the air. We all know that. But anyway, whatever you're prepping for, we all know, and I know I'm preaching to the choir, but when it comes down to it, we all know that we're all in charge of our own safety, our own preparedness, and all of that jazz. It's just funny to read these articles because this article, I cut so much out of it. But when it came down to it, it was simply them. Yeah, Letty Lou says, bend over and kiss your ass goodbye. And that's what it came down to. The government's like, well, we need to have a plan. You need to trust the government's going to look out for you. We need to educate the public so they know what to do. But in the same breath, they said, if something like that ever happened, we would be woefully unprepared. So what does that tell you? They might have a plan. They might be able to tell you something, but if anything ever happened, they can't do anything for you. So again, we're in charge of our own life, our own freedom, and our own protection, whatever that happens to be. And what do we got here? Yep, Letty Lou. I'll just sit here and complain until the government comes and takes care of everything. And if they're not here fast enough, I'll call until they do. Yes, Nate Lemaster says, I'm here from the government and I'm here to help. What did Chris send over on? Oh, and Chris Dixon just sent me a picture of a grumpy Jeep that's upset about the weather over on Telegram. That's cute. And Rachel Brown says, I didn't fact check Jack Spirko, but I remember him talking about the government running a whorehouse into the ground. They literally could screw up a wet dream. Well, here's the story. How about legalize marijuana in Canada? So the government literally gets into the drug dealing business and still can't make a living at it. They tax the shit out of it. They overpackage it through the roof. And, you know, the black market of marijuana is still a thing. You can still get it cheaper from your local dealer than you can get it at the store. And in a lot of places, they've yet to make money at it. So leave it to the government. You know, if people, anyway, yeah, you guys know, how we all, my feelings on all of that, right? So yeah, and you were absolutely right, Rachel. The government could run absolutely anything into the ground. I'm of the opinion that, we could do away with almost all of the government facilities. My favorite one to get rid of tomorrow would be Canada Post, but Chris Dixon says, Chris Dixon knows exactly what I'm talking about. And he said they're growing broke selling weed. Yeah, they are. The government is the only person I know that doesn't smoke its own dope and still goes broke selling it. So legalize weed in Illinois. They only accept cash. Can't put it in the bank due to the Fed seizing it as drug money. Jesus Christ. That's stupid too, but that's a whole nother, anyway, I don't even want to get into that. Rachel Brown says prep for daily life. Duh. Exactly. And I kind of like this article about bomb shelters in England. Not because I think everybody needs to go out and build a bomb shelter, because I don't necessarily think you do. I don't have one, but I have a prepper pantry in my basement that also, hey, Ravenwood Acres, good to have you here, Jake. I have a prepper pantry in the basement that used to be a cistern that also doubles as a storm shelter, and in a pinch could also be a bomb shelter if it needed to be. I am a firm believer in whatever you have, whatever you build, should be for, number one, the most common thing that could go wrong in your life. And number two, that it needs to have some everyday common use so that it's worth the investment of time and money into whatever you happen to be doing. It's like somebody who says, I'm going to buy a cottage and it's going to be a bug out location and that's all it's ever going to be. Well, you might learn to despise that pretty quick if you don't start using it as a vacation property as well, right? Or an RV. Maybe you want to have a bug out trailer, but you never use it, right? So yeah, Letty says she has a friend who works for one of those companies. She said it's a great business, but the money part is a pain in the ass. That's insane. I don't know. That's just the government for you. And One Step says, can't have casinos in Texas, but enjoy our racetracks and buy some lottery tickets. Again, makes no sense. And just when you think maybe the government's going to, fix one thing, they find a way to screw everything else up. It's like they can patch a hole in a boat, but while they're doing it, they put bigger holes next to it, and it just never ends. But yeah, that's what it comes down to. Cash only. Doesn't that sound an awful lot like your traditional drug dealer? Yeah, you can buy it legally from the government, but it's cash only. And it's in the back alley. And we need to go for a drive before you can pick it up. Oh, yeah, that happens, doesn't it? So yeah, anyway, that was my look at the Stranger Than Fiction for this month. I kind of enjoyed it. I will try my damnedest to find you guys some entertaining articles that we can discuss. It's always good for the chat end of things because everybody has been chatting up a storm over there. So yeah, a couple quick things before we slide into the end here. But number one, also Jake, now that you're here, like I said, I think New Year's Day, I know it's not a lot of time for preparation. But anybody connected to the workshop community, anybody who's a content creator, anything like that, if you're up for it, I'd love for you to pick your favorite piece of content that you created this year. Let me know what it is. And what I would like to do is create a playlist that's going to loop on Christmas or New Year's Day on my YouTube channel. So it's basically just going to be audio only. I'll strip the audio out of things, and it's going to be the workshop radio or the workshop AM radio, talk radio, whatever you want to call it. And it's just going to be something for people to put on during New Year's Day to just kind of loop around and play. And it'll be a way, I'm going to share everybody's links and everybody's, where to find you and that kind of thing. And hopefully it'll give everybody some exposure. My favorite saying, a rising tide floats all boats. Well, collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. And that's what I'd like to do. So I'd like to bring everybody I can that's connected to the workshop and just tell me what piece of content you'd like me to use. I'd like to have about 12 hours of content minimum. I'd shoot for 24, but 12 would be happy. And I'm going to turn it into a radio station for the day. And it's just going to play, and people can drop in and leave comments in the chat. I'll be in on and off. And Porterhouse, I definitely want something from you. You pick your best interview if you're up for it, and I will gladly throw that in there. Kentucky, same for you. I had both you on my list. I figured the quickest way to let everybody know was in here, but it'll be fun. It'll just be, maybe I'll turn it into a monthly thing, but for now it's just to celebrate everybody who has been tied into the workshop this year. I'm excited. I love sharing everybody's shit out there. No, it's just fun. Speaking of shit, Martinson said to her, just changing a diaper. So there you go. So yeah, that's what it's up for. Let me know in the Telegram group, wherever it happens to be. Let me know, and we'll get you on there, and maybe we'll turn this into a once a month workshop radio. I don't know, but I'm excited to try it. I did that test on here the other day, and it worked great. And it'll, one step closer says great soundtrack for the day. It'll be a great way to ring in the new year with motivation as all get out. I'm going to reach out to Joel from Fortress K9, see what he has, and a few other people. And Kentucky says I call dibs on Chuck Peoples. Absolutely. Nothing wrong with that. Beyond that, one more live stream before Christmas tomorrow night. I know I don't normally live stream on Fridays, but where I'm not going to be doing a Saturday or Sunday one this week, I thought it would be great to do an extra Friday live stream. Hey, there's, speaking of the devil, and there he is, my brother-in-law. He's going to be in on Christmas Eve, eating and drinking till his heart's content with me. So we sit around and watch everybody else make fools of themselves while we sip on whiskey and bourbon. So it'll be fun. But yeah, so tomorrow night will be a laid back episode. I don't even really know exactly what we're going to chat about, but bring a drink with you. We'll sit down. We'll have some fun. We'll relax. And then, of course, keep an eye out for my special Christmas recording on Christmas Eve. That'll be fun. I really hope you guys enjoyed. I can't wait to hear your feedback on it. Something a little off the wall, but I think I picked a piece of pop culture that perfectly encapsulates the workshop. So I know I have been building up completely way too much hype on this, but I think you're going to enjoy it. And Rachel says, and that's probably part of why Jack is proud of you. Thank you, Rachel. Love to give you a hug, but it's the internet, and it's kind of hard to hug over the internet. So there you go. But guys, I don't know what else to say from there. I'm excited. I love Christmas coming. New Year's is coming. We'll have a couple episodes next week. I'm going to do an episode on my top 10 favorite moments from the workshop this year. And then the last episode of the year will be how I did on my goals, where I'm going for goals, and of course, where you guys are going to go for your goals next year as well, because we're all going to do it together, right? So that's it for me this week, guys. As always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great 2023.